Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm Adam Rappaport, aka Mentis, and I have the opportunity today to share with the Learning Lab a little bit about CustomGPT.ai. I won't go too deep into the product. I'm going to give Alden Do Rosario, who we have the privilege of having with us today, an opportunity to talk a little about it. But this is more of a showcase, so hopefully to pique your interest and get you to look a little more closely. I want to acknowledge that I'm speaking to you today from the land of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and sovereignty was never ceded. It's an important point here in Australia that we continue to pay respect to the Indigenous people of the lands that we live on, fortunately. So with that, let's jump in. The showcase today, I'm going to do a brief introduction to myself and an overview of CustomGPT.ai. We'll talk about the recent benchmark findings where CustomGPT has once again beat OpenAI at their own game, although it's more CustomGPT's game now. Talk a little bit about the test and explain what exactly is an answer consistency binary metric. Look a little at how you can visualize the impact, the difference that it can make to have a more accurate model, and then reintroduce Echo, who's our virtual AI analyst with GAI Insights, who is now powered by CustomGPT on the website. So quick introduction to myself. By day, I work for Data3. They are Microsoft and Cisco's largest technology partner here in Australia. I am an AI solution architect there, playing mostly with Microsoft Azure and Azure OpenAI and Copilot and those types of tools. By night, I'm one of the analysts on the daily news briefing over in the US with GAI Insights. And I'm also founder of Atman Academy, which is all about building educational experiences, which could be anything from a blog to a video to a presentation or workshop like this one. A lot of these slides will have those QR codes on them. I'll make sure we get these slides sent out as well, but you can always grab your phone and grab a picture of that if you want any of the URLs during the presentation. So let's do a brief introduction to CustomGPT.ai. Alden, are you here with us, good sir? I believe I saw you on the line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good afternoon to you. So Alden, if you want to just introduce CustomGPT as well as talk just for a couple minutes about the secret sauce, what makes it such an amazing tool for reducing hallucinations, that'd be phenomenal.
Yeah. Thanks, Adam. So nice to meet everyone. My name is Alden Do Rosario. I'm the founder of CustomGPT.ai. The company was founded about 18 months ago with the vision of letting anyone be able to create their own custom AI with their business content. So we built this system, and one of the early use cases that emerged was this concept of hallucination. And we took that use case very seriously and managed to plug a lot of the reasons for why the hallucinations were happening. One of the benefits that we got along the way was that we managed to sign up a lot of customers. And to deal with hallucinations, you have to be able to work hand in hand with your customers to make sure the AI does not hallucinate. So by plugging each of the aspects in the platform that cause hallucination, we were able to create this best of class system as such. In terms of the company, typically our customers are people who have a lot of knowledge. John talked about the WINS framework, and anybody who has a lot of words in their business is an ideal customer. And the early movers that we see are typically the education space, the legal space, and anything with lots of words and knowledge. Those are the types of customers. This whole thing is packaged as a no-code system, so people can very cost effectively create their first AI pilot, and at a cost of $500 using the self-service system, or $10,000 to $20,000 if they want to do an AI pilot. So that's where we are right now. And thanks so much, GI Insights and Adam, for having us here.
Awesome. Thanks, Alden. Yeah, great to have you here. And obviously, I've become a big fan of the tool. If I'm taking my time to share it with others as well, I'm a massive advocate. Um, what really struck me, I'll just throw this in, is as you were talking about plugging these holes for your customers as they report the hallucinations, what really hit home and made sense for me is when any individual uses something like the OpenAI assistant, which can do a similar thing, so you can create chatbots. If they find a problem, they fix it for themselves. Whereas when Custom GPT finds a problem or a customer reports a problem, they fix it for all of the customers. So in a way, by having that software as a service model for Custom GPT, it really makes sense to address the issues with hallucinations, because otherwise everyone has to fix the same problems. So having a tool where that function is consolidated really made a lot of sense to me. So jumping on then, I was recently employed by Custom GPT to do a benchmark. We did 945 questions across diverse data sets, and the results, as you can see there, 13% higher accuracy rate, 10% lower hallucination rate, and 34% faster than OpenAI's Assistant API v2, which is their newer, allegedly better, but still not the best API out there for this type of work. And that link goes to the blog where you can read more about this. It was a fun piece of work, and I enjoyed working with the team on that. I do want to talk about the anti-hallucination test. As you can see here, there's an administrator talking to both Custom GPT and OpenAI. And basically how this worked is, and generally how this works for benchmark testing with hallucinations is, we give the two models a question. We already know what the correct answer is, and then we compare their answers to the correct answer. In this case, as you see, we used what's called an answer consistency binary metric, which means it was a 0 or a 1, which is what a binary score is. And it was either 100% correct in its answer, or it was not 100% correct. So that meant if it made up information that wasn't supposed to be in the answer, or if it didn't give a complete answer, those would both result in a 0 or a non-passing grade. You can see the diversity that data sets, everything from COVID to some Paul Graham essays, and just it was really blockchain Solana data set. It was quite diverse in terms of the knowledge that it was being tested on. And as you can see from the graph there, Custom GPT, the majority of the time, got the right answer, which would be a score of 1, whereas OpenAI, the majority of the time, actually got the wrong answer. Either it was incomplete or it was hallucinating something that wasn't supposed to be there. And you'll see a little later when you visualize the difference. Well, it's imagine a coin toss, except some of the times, you're in the winner versus the loser as a majority. So that little competitive edge can make a huge difference when it comes to some of the industries that Alden and the team deal with. So let's just look at a couple of quick examples of the test in action. So for example, from public health, according to the article, what action should be taken to prevent further coronavirus outbreaks? Custom GPT in this case got a score of 1, meaning it provided the complete answer that was in the knowledge and the training, whereas OpenAI did not. And as the analysis provides, OpenAI's response was partially correct, but it didn't provide the full range of measure. A lot of times we just think of hallucinations as making up facts that aren't there, but there's also the almost the lie of omission, right? And if it doesn't give a complete answer, that can be detrimental as well when you're talking about a model that's trained on your knowledge. Here's an example from artificial intelligence, similar sort of thing. Although OpenAI's answer wasn't incorrect, it didn't have the depth, and it failed to capture the full importance of the Turing test in this case. And just one more example again, here was from Hamlet. So as you can see, we really used a diversity of questions. It was literature, it was science, it was technology, it was health. And as you saw from the results, OpenAI just didn't stand up. It wasn't as consistently providing the correct information. And this is where they're given the answers, right? They're given the answer book. They're literally handed this knowledge and then asked questions about it. So yeah, Custom GPT just really outperformed OpenAI in the testing that I performed. In terms of visualizing the impact, you can go to this URL. It's on my website, atmanacademy.io/carnival. And I created some mini games. Actually, I used AI to help me write the JavaScript for them that can help you visualize the difference that can make. So for example, you can spin a wheel and try and win, but as you can see, the OpenAI wedge is smaller. So you know where the odds are going to be in your favor if you choose Custom GPT in this case. Or in this example, we use 945 bets to represent the 945 questions. And if you started with 100 coins and you bet one coin each time, with OpenAI, you'd end up with $19 after 945 bets. Whereas with Custom GPT, you'd end up with 131. So it's just right on that edge between where the majority lies. But in this case, Custom GPT is definitely where you want to put your money. And lastly, I made a dartboard that's actually based on the statistics of the accuracy of the model. So sometimes you may throw 3 darts and you can see that OpenAI is the winner. Well, that's because statistically, the edge that Custom GPT gives you doesn't really make much of a difference when you're talking about 3 questions, right? There's still a chance statistically that OpenAI could hit the mark. But when you start looking at 300 or 3,000 questions, and you know, a lot of these chatbots with high volume websites are answering a lot of questions every day, that's where you start seeing the edge that Custom GPT really gives you. So you can jump over to the website and have a play with some of those mini games if you'd like. On the Atman Academy website, on the Atman Academy YouTube, there is also a video that provides a high-level overview of what is RAG, what is hallucinations, and goes a little bit into some of what I'm sharing with you today, including this graphic I had fun putting together around what is augmented retrieval. The link is there as well if you want to go watch the video on visualizing the impact. That would be the place to find it. The only other thing I want to really cover today was introducing, or I should say reintroducing Echo. Echo is, as I mentioned, a virtual AI analyst with the team at GAI Insights. He, she, they, we're still not quite sure. I call her a she, but I guess it's TBD. She was first introduced at the Generative AI World Conference in 2023, where she introduced Paul as the keynote speaker. And we've had some fun playing with her since then. On the 100th episode of our daily Gen AI news briefing, she actually provided some of the analysis and rated one of the articles as important as one of the members of the team. And then just more recently, it says under construction, but I made this slide 2 days ago. It actually just launched yesterday, but at the moment on the GAI Insights website, you can go chat with Echo now about everything from Generative AI World, the contents of our YouTube channel, as well as, of course, GAI Insights itself as a business. So let's look a little bit under the hood. CustomGPT.ai, here you can see in my dashboard where you see the various projects. And so it'll show you how many words, how many items were indexed, and gives you a good overview of what you currently have loaded into the knowledge for your chatbot. You also have project settings where you can see specifically what files you uploaded right there through the user interface. You can upload zip files, text files, as well as you can provide a sitemap or URLs so that it can go look at web pages rather than you're having to copy and paste all that information into it. And then there's a bunch of different deployment modes. The one I seem to be using the most is the live chat, where there's the little button down in the bottom corner. You can customize where it is on the page, but I find it generally is in the bottom right. And you can click on the little icon and it pops up the chat interface. You can also embed it. You can do it like a website copilot on the side. And I believe it's the most recent addition is the search generative experience, which is a bit more like I guess Search GPT, which is coming, or the Anthropic model where you, the Perplexity model, where it'll actually combine the information and then present it in a really easily readable format. So at this point, you just pick your deployment method, you copy some code, you paste that into your website, and off you go. So it's really a low or no code, really powerful solution for getting up and running and enabling people to chat about your information. What else I got here? You can also customize the look and feel, the conversation settings. You can create the persona for your agent. You know, do you want it to be friendly or you know, more, I guess, wax poetic or very analytical? Customize the photo, the chat colors, all those sorts of things. And as I mentioned, here's a screenshot I took last night of Echo right there on the GAI Insights website. In this case, I said, I'm interested in knowing more about the YouTube channel. And sure enough, Echo came right back and said, oh, it covers the daily news briefings, the learning labs, 5 minutes with Dr. John, as we just saw earlier today. All of those are available on our YouTube. And I actually pulled down the transcripts and gave those all to Echo. So not only does she know the contents of it, but she knows the context of what we actually discussed in each of those learning labs. So it's a really powerful tool to go have a conversation with an AI agent about all of that great information. Lucinda, before I jump in or proceed further, there's not much more, but I see your hand is raised. Do you want to ask a question?
Yeah. I have
Good
so many
morning.
questions. Well,
Good
first
evening.
of all, I looked at your the both articles that you wrote, and I just thought the methodology was really great. And like, it's really important when you're dealing with a RAG, retrieval augmented generation, that that you have a good evaluation set so that you can know how you're improving or how you're not improving. So I guess I kind of have a question for both you and for one question for you, one question for Alden. The question for you is, if you go back to the one with the targets, the slide with the targets.
Yep, I'll get there.
Yep.
Almost.
It's a ways back.
One more, I think.
One
Yeah.
more, yeah. So it's got different gradations. The green is under 25 and under, but your classification is 0 or 1. So I'm just wondering, how are you getting the gradation there?
Oh, this was for illustrative purposes. So I just said in the testing, if it got a 1, we'll just say that's the inner rings, and a 0 would be the outer rings. But I can see how it would be confusing. There are other metrics where it is a sort of a 0 to 5 or a 1 to 5 scoring system.
Right.
So in this case, I just took the binary results and I either said that was closer to the bullseye or further away. And so in this example, if statistically, let's say it was 55% of the time that Custom GPT was right, I can't remember the exact number, but it's close to that. That would say, okay, then 55% of the time hit those inner rings. That's what I did just for illustrative purposes. Yeah.
Okay, great. And it's amazing how much, how quickly it goes from, losing money to gaining money as you go over that 50% mark, because they're not too far one way or the other. And then for Alden, so do you have evaluation systems for how you're doing RAGs and in terms of tuning your process and how to tell when your process is getting better? And I just was wondering if you had a couple of comments on, do you use an evaluation system like this, or how do you evaluate the RAG and then know when you're doing certain measures, whether it's making things better or worse?
Yeah. So there are two things. One is the quantitative one, which is there are now frameworks to evaluate RAG. And two of the most popular ones are tonic.ai and another one called Ragas, RAGAS. So we use those to evaluate whether we are getting better or worse. There is a non-quantitative, which is a qualitative part as well, which is, your customers will tell you if things are getting better or worse as well, right? So in our case, we've signed up almost like 8,000 paid customers, and if the accuracy or the hallucination are going out of sync, then we very quickly hear from it from our customers, especially because some of the customers have deployed us in pretty sensitive use cases as such. So there's no replacement to the real human feedback that you get.
Okay, thank you.
And RJ, I think your hand was up next, and then Christina will get to you.
Yeah, thanks. Great presentation. I was wondering, how often is OpenAI losing because the answer is shorter?
Oh, you mean in my test methodology?
Right, because you pointed out that it seems like sometimes OpenAI was losing in the comparison because the answer was less detailed. And I was wondering, how many times was it losing because it was less detailed?
I don't have that metric. If it got a 0, it meant either there was information in there that was not part of the answer, or it was an incomplete answer. But I'd have to go back and look through, 500 0-score OpenAI questions to understand which of those had additional information versus incomplete information.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, you could very simply ask OpenAI just to give a longer answer. So that's why I was wondering. Thanks.
Just to clarify here, RJ, the same exact prompt is going to both systems. So there is no difference in the prompt that is going to the OpenAI assistant or to CustomGPT.ai.
So then why would it one give a longer answer than the other then? Help me understand, please.
Uh, Maybe our system is configured to be longer answers and theirs is not. Maybe they don't have anti-hallucination built in. There could be 100 reasons.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That helps.
Yeah, Christina, good evening, or I guess good afternoon to you. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so
Go
much.
ahead. Go ahead.
You're planning to use CustomGPT.ai for the AI Realized Summit website. And I'm wondering if we can submit podcast recordings and or videos directly to the CustomGPT.ai, or do we need to transcribe and upload a transcription?
If the video is on YouTube, then we can automatically ingest it. And if it is a podcast, I think for podcasts, the audio should work out of the box. Or if the URL to the podcast, it should work out of the box.
Thank you.
And Raymond, good afternoon to you too, sir. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Thanks for the presentation, guys. Alden, if I could ask Adam, you're always on point. I appreciate it. Alden, could I ask? You mentioned that customers are the first ones to tell you when things are going awry. Are there any? I mean, do you have a couple of examples or how like issues that you've seen and how you back into, do you have to, are you tweaking custom GPT, over time or of course you are, but I mean, what issues are you seeing?
So we saw like a whole bunch of issues, like, because if you look at a RAG pipeline, there are like 5 components in it. And we saw the source of hallucinations root causing back to each of these 5 components as such. And the hallucinations were occurring because of various reasons. In some cases it would be because there would be a long conversation. In some cases it could be because there would be a sudden turn in the conversation. In some cases it would be because the user would give like very ambiguous prompts like tell me more, or yes, that one, or two. That was the most like common prompt we would get, just the number 2, or the number or the word like yes, no. So it's quite amazing that when you deal with actual users, like a lot of us here are AI enthusiasts and we love to give like ninja prompts, but the actual end user, real user, consumer is like giving really, really terrible prompts. So adapting the entire system to those terrible prompts, I think had a great effect on the anti-hallucination.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it sounds like it doesn't deal well with nuance, right? Like if there's nuance, it kind of isn't sure which way to go.
Yeah, but I think one of the reason we might have won against OpenAI is because we did put in like a nuance detector sort of before handling the query, and I'm not sure whether they have done that yet. Like, I'm not sure whether hallucination is that big of a deal for them as it is for us, because they are a consumer system right now, and being creative works really, really well for ChatGPT. Whereas we are more of a business system where people are using us for use cases like education and therapy. And we have to tighten up our system a lot more than OpenAI does.
So let's see. Let's see what's left. I think that's about it. Yeah. Look, just look, read the blog, watch the video, try CustomGPT.ai for free. Check out the virtual carnival. Contact me for any of those sorts of needs. And oh yeah, then I just have my cool thank you slide, which leads us into the Q&A. So there we go. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. That's it.
Awesome. Just to finish the question, thank you, Adam. That was great. Alden, is the basic difference between, because we had a question about the basic difference between Custom GPT.ai and the OpenAI's GPT. Would you basically say it's more business friendly in terms of ability to tune and control? You're on mute, buddy.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that is my goal. My goal is not to compete with OpenAI. That will cause us to be steamrolled. The goal is to create like a easy no code system for businesses, and listen to business needs where they occur. Right? Hallucination is much more a business need than a consumer need. So that's where we turned our attention to. Uh, and but over the long term, I'm hoping that we solve last mile problems for businesses and add value in that way rather than whatever OpenAI is trying to do.
Great. I know, Christina, you had a question before. Did you want to go ahead, or should we go to Helen?
No, go ahead, Halden. I asked my question. Thank you so much.
Very good. Halden?
So following back up on what you were saying about how the model seems to do poorly when given very short, very choppy responses well into a conversation. A yes, a two, a that one. Where is the model? As somebody who deals with a lot of individuals who ask very dumb questions a lot of the time, very poorly phrased questions a lot of the time, is the way to solve that through AI to elicit a more detailed response from the respondent? Or is it to build additional capacity within the AI itself to understand from context clues where these poorly worded questions are coming from?
Correct. The second one, what the best option is to do something like APO, which is automatic prompt optimization. And that is giving you the best chance to retrieve the correct context from your vector database and supply that in answering the question. And the second technique is when responding, if you are able to engage the user with follow-up questions, that's another way to remove disambiguity in the conversation. So when somebody says prompts like, yeah, that one, yes, no, to tell me more, it's always better to give the response that you can generate with automatic prompt optimization and then have a follow-on engagement like, hey, would you like to know more about this, or did you mean this and this, or something like that. So it's both APO and response disambiguation after that.
Thank you.
Other questions? Awesome. Alden, could you just give a little bit of background in terms of, so who are your customers? How, I don't know what you're at liberty to say in terms of how big the firm is and so forth, but.
Yeah. So our customers are typically educational institutions and legal, but mostly across the board. Typical customers, since we are a no-code system, we are typically the on-ramp to people doing their first AI project.
Yes.
I think we differentiate ourselves in that we have a very low price point, like $500 to get started. And that's allowing companies to really kick off their very first AI project. Now, after people have done their AI pilots, we are seeing people go upstream into more complicated use cases.
Yes.
And that's due to that, we are now seeing like governments coming in and other like larger enterprise customers coming into our system. In terms of volume, we are now about 17 months old and we've signed up about 8,000 paying customers.
I love it.
It's a no code system. So people come in, they try it on themselves. They sometimes use our help. They sign up for enterprise licenses and, good stuff on that front.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I just want to say, highlight at least two things that we're seeing that relate to what you're just saying. First of all, when I was at the VB Insights conference in San Francisco a couple of weeks ago, the woman who runs Copilot echoed what you said about the challenge of prompting. That they're seeing the two biggest impediments to Copilot use in their estimation are people intimidated by prompting, so they're starting to automate the prompting process. And the second is education, that people don't have enough use with the tool to really even understand what it is. And I think we're seeing a similar thing across enterprises. The other thing I would say is as people climb up the stack, when we look at some of our more advanced users and adopters, people who have been at the AI, machine learning, data analysis for robotic process automation for 5 to 10 years or so, big health insurance companies, big banks, things like that. Well, what we see happening right now is at least 3 different trends. One is that they are moving, tools like yours are in the portfolio, but they are moving to the proprietary models and then also to the open source models and training them inside. So this whole notion of kind of own your own intelligence, they're, for a number of reasons, they don't want to be on the wrong side of the power equation with the big model makers, and yeah, they may, and they're worried about the cost of inference and the control of data and all that good stuff going forward. I think that's one. The second thing is that they're starting to build their own capabilities to do what, I'm old enough to have been around when mainframes are like, right, job control language. They're basically creating their own job control language to allocate to at least 2 things. One, where should I put the square in terms of the efficiency of models? Small model, big model, but how much, where do I want to decrease my inference cost? And then also, which do I want to do based on sensitivity or quality or things like that? So they're having to write those pieces of software to do that allocation on a high transaction basis. And the other is that they are writing their own security software. Across to basically do the kind of stuff you'd see in a normal security environment, role-based, transaction-based security. In addition, data variabilization as it goes into different models and so forth, right? But anyway, we're seeing the advanced adopters creating those pieces of software for ML ops, but this is only people who've been at it for 5-10 years. They've refactored their data. They've done a more modular capability. They have experience in AI models and policy and so forth. But I was just curious if folks on the phone are seeing similar trends. We're seeing that in terms of.
But my customers, they've not been at it for 10 years.
Yeah.
But they are asking the same thing and they are expecting us to do it, which is good news, right? Because just like any other SaaS software, whether it be Salesforce.com or HubSpot, right? People and customers expect the software to handle these things for them.
Yes.
The aspects that you mentioned, like, the security aspects, hallucination, safety, profanity, quality of the response. Is there any risk in the response? Those are all things that they are asking us, which we will build and started to build into the system, right? Because in our eyes, it is our job to do it, not our customers.
Yes.
Just like if you need something with your marketing automation, you expect HubSpot to do it. You wouldn't go and start building it yourself. So that is one big trend that we are seeing where people's needs are increasing in the system. The other trend we are seeing is the equation is going more from cost cutting to revenue driving.
Yeah.
So, initially it was all about personal productivity and hey, we can replace Bob and cut costs and things like that.
Yes.
And now the equation is going a lot towards like, okay, if we integrate AI into our systems, into our processes, into our sales systems, lead generation, then how does that actually drive our engines?
Alden, can you give some examples of how people are driving revenue?
Yeah, so
like specifics?
Like a new emerging category for us is like software companies where they are already like selling SaaS software or some sort of software. And by integrating AI into the software itself, right, either as an aid, either as a productivity, either as a help to use the product, those are driving additional revenue streams. So if you are charging $1, you can now charge like $1.20 with the AI. So it becomes an additional feature as such.
Okay, and you can embed your RAG basically in their processes.
Exactly.
Cool.
Right. The second thing is if they have some development capability, then they can build like RAG-based systems without building the entire RAG pipeline. So that's the second aspect of like driving new revenue. But the driving new revenue is it's the more exciting part because it's CFOs can understand it.